Let's continue from where we left off. So far we've been looking at how to work with colors using CSS, and we've looked at things like RGB function. We've also looked at things like hex values and also HSL as well. So currently what we are going to look at is the linear gradient. We already started some of it in the previous video, so let's continue. All right, so for the red marker, we've added a background with a linear gradient, and the first value in the linear gradient function is the 90 degrees that we've added here, which sort of gives us the angle of the gradient. Okay, so the next thing we want to add is we want to use the RGB function for the colors of the gradient. So in the linear gradient function, use the RGB to set the first color argument to red. So we know that with RGB, to get a color red, we need to give 255 to the first value, 0 to the second one, and then 0 to the third one. Okay, yeah. Now we need to add a second color before we can see the gradient working. All right, so now let's add the second color. The second color we want to add is green. So for us to get green, we're still using the RGB. So to get green, we'll do RGB, and then the first value, which is red, will be 0. The second value, which is green, will be 255, and then the third value, which represents blue, will be 0. All right, so now you can see the gradient working. So the left side of the marker starts as red, and then it goes all the way to the extreme right, which is green. Okay, so that's how the gradient works. Okay, so as you can see, the linear gradient function produced a smooth red-green gradient, while the linear gradient function needs a minimum of 2 color arguments to work. It can accept many color arguments. So here we are using just 2 colors, red on the left side and then green on the right side, but then it can accept any number of colors as we read in the commentary. So for now, we want to use the RGB function to add pure blue as the third color argument to the linear gradient function. Okay, so the way we do that is to write RGB like we've always been doing. So the first color, which is R, will be 0. The second color, which is J, will be also 0. And the third color, which is green, will be 255. Okay, so now we have this gradient that sort of starts at red and then becomes green and then ends at a blue. Okay, so moving on, color stops allow you to fine-tune where colors are placed along the gradient line. They are length units like pixels or percentages that follow a color in the linear gradient function. Okay, so for example, we can have a linear gradient with 90 degrees, red of 90% as the first color argument, and then black as the second color argument. So in the linear gradient function, we want to add a 75% color stop after the red color argument. Do not add color stop for the other colors. Okay, let's add it and see what happens. So we'll do 90%. Okay, so what this means is that red is going to take 90% of the width of the marker, and the other colors will just take the remaining 10%. So as you can see, for example, if we change this to 50%, now the red is only taking 50%. If we change it to, let's say, 10%, Now red is just 10% of it, so let's change it back to 90%. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this does not work. Oh no, it was 75%. We're not supposed to change it to 90%. We're supposed to change it rather to 75%. Okay, now it works as expected. Okay, so next up, we know that the basics of how the linear gradient functions and color stops works. So you can use them to make the markers look more realistic. And we're going to start by setting the gradient direction to 180 degrees. So let's do that and see the changes that occurs. Okay, so now instead of it being split in the middle horizontally, it does so vertically. So the colors are now arranged vertically instead of horizontally like it was before. Okay, next up, we want to set the color stop for the red at 0%, and then the color stop for the green at 50%, then the color stop for blue at 100%. So for red, we just want to do 0. For green, we want to do 50%. And then for the blue, we want to do 100%. Okay. Oops, there's something wrong. Okay, so this should be within the bracket. So this is outside of it. Okay, so we do 100% like so. All right, now it should work. Okay, so now that the color stops are set, you would apply different shades of red to each color argument in the linear gradient function. The shades on the top of and bottom edges of the marker will be darker, while the one in the middle will be lighter, as if there's a light above it. Okay, so for the first color argument, which is this one here, instead of this having pure red, we want to use a red value of 122, a green value of 74, and a blue value of 14. Okay, then for the second argument, which is currently green, we want to add a green value of 74, like so. And then for the third argument, which is currently blue, we want to add a blue value of 14. Okay. All right, so something is wrong. So currently period. Update the RGB function for the red. Okay, so yeah, I know why this is not working. So we need to undo all that we've done. Okay, so for this one, which is the first red value, we use 122 here, 74 here, and then 14 here. So that's it. Okay, so next up, we want to modify the second color argument in the linear gradient function, which is currently pure green. So this argument right here currently is pure green. So we want to change it from pure green to a slightly more reddish color. So the way we do that is to give the first value 245. We'll give the second value 62, and then we'll give the third value, 113. All right, next up, we'll work on the third color argument, which is this one right here. And for the R, we'll give it 162. For the G, we'll give it 27. And then we'll also give the B 27. Okay, so now it's looking more like what we have here. Okay, the gradient is similar to what we have in the final page. All right, so finally in this session we want to look at making the red marker look even more realistic. You do same for the green marker, and we'll do same for the blue marker as well. Okay, so we've already done that for the red marker, so let's do similar for the green marker. And we'll start by changing the background color property from background color to just background, like so. All right, and that's going to be it for this one. So we'll continue in the next one, where we are going to look at transforming this green marker here into a more realistic looking marker like the red one we already have above. Okay.